You think I'll let you zone?
Hey everyone, I got some good tidings and holiday cheer for this video. As per the holiday season, kids can't wait to get their favorite gifts from their parents or favorite relatives, be it toys, but I don't think kids these years play much with toys unless they're a certain age. Now, it's electronics and video games, that's what they want, especially with found lost media, and that includes the video games that were either shelved, cancelled, or scrapped in the prototype stages. These 5 games that I have lined up on this list may not have made it under the tree one year, but they are found for all to learn and see what made them the way they are, with 5 found video games in lost media. Socks the Cat Rocks the Hill is about former President Bill Clinton's cat Socks as he tries to stop rat spies from going to the White House and stealing nuclear codes and leading him through several levels to fight bosses. Some bosses were based on American politicians. Oddly enough, the game was advertised and everything, but was cancelled for unknown reasons. Originally, it was speculated that the satire was what got it axed, but developers have stated that it was actually the publisher, Kaneko, who canceled the game because in the summer of 1994 they closed their US branch to focus on Japan, and with it, it canceled games like Fido Ditto and Socks. Only one version of the game was found, and it was the Super Nintendo version, as the Genesis version was never found by Jason Wilson, aka Dream TR, an avid collector of video games and owner of a video game arcade. He wouldn't dump the ROM because he knew the value of the game to be around $5,000 at the time, so he would troll people who wanted to play it but would sell it for $5K or a Medieval Madness pinball machine, or a copy of Stadium Events on the NES with the original box and manual intact, which at the time were also valued as such. A person who went by Minus Worlds did eventually buy the cartridge and promised that he would release it to the public in the near future, but in the form of a boxed reproduction cartridges. After which, a Kickstarter was eventually launched, and on February 1st, 2018, the game's reproduction cartridges were finally released, and it was dumped online for everyone to play the game, finally. Everyone knows the worst superhero game that is Superman 64, but what if I told you that the developer, Titus Software, wanted to make a PS1 port of the game and tried to commission another studio to do it? After its release, Titus paid Blue Sky Software to start immediate work on producing a PS1 port of the Nintendo 64 game. However, since the PlayStation couldn't handle the free roaming city gameplay of the original, Blue Sky had to recreate the game from scratch. This PlayStation version had progressed far enough that the magazine ads were published, pre-orders were available at retailers, and the game was being officially licensed by Sony Computer Entertainment America themselves. Sadly, Blue Sky lost the rights to the Superman franchise, forcing them to can the game in order to avoid copyright issues with DC Entertainment and WB at the time. Prototypes of the PS1 version would occasionally show up from 2007 to 2011, but the most famous one was in 2014, where one Assembler Games forum goer, Richard Evan Mandel, had provided an intimate look into the prototype's internal files, including the SLUS code via a physical disc of the prototype that he had acquired in an auction the previous year. However, after Mandel had been called out by the rest of the forum when he asked for a cash sum in exchange for releasing the prototype, he decided to destroy the disc, wiping the backup ISO he had and reformatting the drives that it was located on in retaliation like a child. In the summer of 2014, 2 more people in possession of a prototype appeared and showed off other content. Richard didn't, but it wasn't until October 2018 someone uploaded a copy to the Internet Archive. In 2020, Richard made a journal entry about his side of the argument on DeviantArt, where he left a link to the game after trying to recover it, but has since been deleted. But the ISO was recovered before it was deleted and uploaded to the Internet Archive. Now, I know what you're thinking. Spider-Man 2 Enter Electro isn't lost as it was released a complete game back in 2001. Now, you would be correct technically, as the original version was recalled after the September 11th attacks, and by October 19th a new version was released with various changes making the original day one release extremely rare and most oftentimes unplayable because of it. One of the main differences is that the final boss battle is with Electro on top of one of the World Trade Center buildings, but in a revised version, the buildings were no longer referenced to by name, and the level geometry was changed to add a bridge between the two buildings so that they no longer resembled the World Trade Center. Some of the other changes involved retitling a few of the levels. Crash Flight turned into Wind Tunnel, Downward Spiral became the Corkscrew, Aces High was renamed to the Gauntlet, In the final boss battle with Electro was changed from top of the world to the best laid plans. For a very long time, only gameplay footage of the pre-9/11 version had been circulated on the internet, but no ROM ever had. On May 28, 2015, a YouTuber by the name of McFoyle posted a video of the final battle from the original release version with a functioning download to the ROM linked in the description of the video at the time. 2 years later, a user who went by the name PaulWeezy71 on the website Hidden Palace dumped a copy of the pre-9/11 version of the game. This copy was slightly different from the one that McFoyle dumped, as this one was the NTSC version instead of the PAL version of the game. Next is an interesting one, as it was lost media up until recently and a hard to find point and click adventure game from 1995 that was for Windows and Mac, Noah's Ark. The composer for this game was Kishiro Namishu, who also did vocals on some anime like Crusher Joe, or was the composer for Anime Contemplation vinyl and CDs, while Kenshi Shikoto was art director on other things like Hyper 3D Tensen Battle or Geoblockers for the Sega Saturn a few years later. As for the story of Noah's Ark, it goes like this. Around 2100, mankind is facing the threat of mass extinction and population explosion. Running out of time and options, mankind is making a plan with terraforming Mars for a mass migration. Strangely, just before the plant base is finished, a huge tower suddenly shoots from the ground. A scouting party reveals that the structure was built around 5 billion years ago and has several floors inside. An investigation team, including the player, was sent to infiltrate the tower and discover what the mystery on why and who left this tower behind and for what kind of purpose on Mars. It was in July of 2021 where user Peachy Keen found a listing of a Japanese Yahoo auction which contained pictures of the box. We get another update around November 23rd, 2024 where Beanstalk redumped and Saint uploaded the full game online after obtaining a copy from the Japanese auction website. Now for the last one. It's a tie-in video game, more specifically an MCU tie-in when they were more the norm back in the early 2000s and 2010s. The game was planned for the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, PC, and Wii U. It would have released with or close to around 2012's The Avengers, with the defunct THQ developing the title. The development started in 2010 with THQ Studio Australia. They were granted the license by Marvel to create a video game tie-in for the Avengers movies and comics at the time. Players would be given a choice to play as Hulk, Captain America, Iron Man, or Thor in a single-player campaign with a co-op player mode. You can also switch between the first-person point of view and a third-person point of view during gameplay. The plot was going to follow a lot from the Avengers movie and would have levels of famous scenes like from the Battle of New York, the Triskelion, the Helicarrier, and the inside of an alien mothership. Not all the levels were going to be based on the movie, as one screenshot has Captain America fighting against the Skrull, a prominent alien species in the Marvel comics that wouldn't appear in the MCU until 2019's Captain Marvel. Around the time of development, THQ is facing bankruptcy, and in the desperate move to stay afloat in 2010, THQ started a massive reorganization. The failures like the U-Draw tablet and the giant turd that was Homefront, THQ was looking to cut expenses anywhere they could. The financial issues also caused the team's wages at THQ's Australian studio to be cut in half. Even with these cutbacks, it still was not enough, and by August 2011, THQ closed THQ Studio Australia and Blue Tongue Entertainment, both studios that were working on the game. On June 1st, 2020 is when a build from a month before the game's cancellation was posted on a gaming preservation website called Obscure Gamers. Shortly after, a YouTuber known as P2P Online uploaded gameplay footage of the Xbox 360 build of the game that they had access to. The build was from an Xbox development kit hard drive that was acquired by Obscure Gamers and dumped online shortly after. That should be it for this holiday edition of Found Lost Media. I'm going to try and get another one out by Christmas week. If not, you'll have something to watch for New Year's. But it is very interesting that a few of these games were either ready to go but got canned or were lost to time itself. Let me know in the comments below what was interesting to you or what I should look into next. But with that, stay gold guys, and I'll see you in the next video.